All right, so in this explainer, we're jumping into a story of two cities, London and Paris. But really, it's a story about a handful of people whose lives are about to get all tangled up by the giant shadow of a revolution that's just around the corner.
So let's just get right to the heart of the mystery, shall we? How does a man literally lose his own name? I mean, how does that even happen? After 18 years of being wrongly locked away in a Paris prison, one man stumbles out into the light, but he doesn't have his name anymore. All he has is a number.
That's it. That's all he answers to. Not a name, but a location. His old cell number in the infamous Bastille prison. Dr. Manette was basically buried alive for 18 years, and this number, well, it's all that's left of the man he once was. And that's what kicks off our first chapter here. A father who was thought to be long dead is suddenly found. This incredibly emotional reunion in Paris is the one event that gets this whole entire story rolling.
Just try to picture this. Lucie Manette, who has grown up her whole life believing her father was dead, is led up to this dark, dusty attic. And there he is, this ghost of a man with white hair, just lost in the repetitive motion of making shoes. It's a trade he learned in prison, just to keep from going completely insane. He's been completely unmade. So Lucie's whole mission is to, literally, recall him to life, to pull him back from this abyss and get him to the safety of England. And during a really stormy trip across the channel, a kind young Frenchman, Charles Darnay, steps in to help care for her fragile father. Tuck that name away, Charles Darnay. It's going to be really important later. Okay, so next we're going to jump from that quiet, sad attic in Paris straight into the high-stakes drama of a London courtroom. The story takes a really sharp and, frankly, dangerous turn with a trial for a spy. So get this, 5 whole years go by. 5 years for Dr. Manette to slowly, piece by piece, start to heal, with his daughter Lucie taking care of him in London. They've managed to build this quiet, fragile peace. But you know how it is, right? The past, it has a way of catching up with you. And for them, it shows up in the form of this trial.
And who's the man on trial for his life, accused of treason? Well, it's none other than Charles Darnay, the kind stranger from the boat. And in this absolutely brutal twist of fate, Lucie Manette, the very woman he helped, is now being forced to testify against him as the key witness for the prosecution.
Now, while Darnay's entire life is hanging by a thread in that London courtroom, let's hop across the channel back to France, where we're about to see what absolute power and just casual cruelty really look like.
So meet the Marquis d'Evremond. He's a massively powerful French aristocrat, and he's having a bad day, furious about some petty insult at court. So what does he do? He tells his driver to just fly through the crowded streets of Paris, treating the people there like they're just, bugs to be swatted out of his way. And then it happens. The carriage hits a child, killing him instantly. As the boy's father is screaming in agony, the Marquis, he's not remorseful. He's just annoyed that he's been delayed. He casually tosses a couple of gold coins at the grieving man as payment for his son's life. I mean, his contempt for the poor is just staggering.
Okay, back in London, the case against Charles Darnay looks absolutely hopeless. The evidence seems solid, but then, at the very last second, something absolutely wild happens that flips the whole thing on its head.
Okay, so there's one more person you need to meet, Sidney Carton. He's this brilliant lawyer, but he's also deeply cynical and seems to care about absolutely nothing. He's sitting right there next to the composed and dignified Darnay, and they're polar opposites. One is all about hope, and the other just radiates, "I don't care."
And this is where it gets crazy. The defense lawyer suddenly draws everyone's attention to an unbelievable fact. The whole case for the prosecution? It's worthless. Why? Because Sidney Carton is an exact, living, breathing double of Charles Darnay.
I mean, think about it. You're on that jury. You see 2 guys who look completely identical. How can you be sure which one the witness saw? You can't. There's reasonable doubt all over the place, and Charles Darnay is acquitted. So he walks free, saved by the face of a guy who looks like he can't even stand him. Wild.
But as one life is saved in London, another is taken, violently, back in France. The story of that cruel Marquis, it's not over. Turns out, the people he terrorized, they don't forget.
So,
The very next morning after that horrifying scene with the carriage, the Marquis is found murdered in his own bed. He's been stabbed straight through the heart while he slept. Yep, vengeance has been served.
And on his body, a chilling note is left, throwing his own cruel words right back at him. And this name, Jacques, it's basically a code name for the revolutionaries. The message here is loud and clear. The French nobility is starting to pay its debts in blood.
Okay, so you've got this trial in London and a murder in France. How in the world do they connect? Well, it all comes down to one little word.
Bam, there it is. Charles Darnay, the guy who just dodged a death sentence in London, is the nephew and heir of the most hated man in Paris. He's tried to reject his family's cruelty, but he can't escape his name, his bloodline. His two worlds haven't just collided, they've crashed.
Okay, let's step back and just pull all these different threads together, right? We've got a doctor pulled back from the brink of oblivion, a spy trial that fell apart because of a doppelganger, a revenge murder that's lighting the fuse of revolution, and two men who share the exact same face.
This is basically the web of fate that's trapping all these people. Look at how everyone is connected. Dr. Manette is tied to Charles Darnay through gratitude. Darnay is tied by blood to the murdered Marquis and by his face to the lawyer Sidney Carton. It's this incredibly dangerous knot, and it's just getting tighter and tighter.
So what are the big takeaways? Well, think of each of these as a ticking time bomb. You've got a secret buried in a prison cell, a legal case built on a sandy foundation, the first real bloodshed of a revolution, and a family name that's pretty much a death sentence in France.
And that leaves us with this one giant, lingering question. Charles Darnay may have escaped an English courtroom, but can he ever truly escape his family's bloody legacy back in France? What on earth is going to happen when those two identities, the suspected spy and the hated noble, finally smash together?